Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just got back from watching the new Shazam movie, starring Zachary Levi and Mark Strong, and this is probably the third DC film that's actually a really good movie. Yeah, alongside Wonder Woman and Aquaman, Shazam proves that DC finally has a handle on this whole cinematic universe thing by giving the solo films much more effort, time, and quality than the earlier attempts have had. But this one happens to be a cool throwback to 80s style superhero and coming of age stories, while also just being a generally great story in its own right. But let's get to the story itself, shall we? The story is about a boy named Billy Batson who, after losing his mother, has gone from foster home to foster home, not finding his true family. So when he ends up at a new foster home, and when he eventually is discovered by a wizard named Shazam, yes, that's his actual name, he ends up being chosen to inherit Shazam's powers to be a champion of justice. And he also gets an adult body out of it, where the adult version of Billy is played by Zachary Levi. So it seems to be all fun and games for Billy at first as he learns his new powers and gets to finally have the sense of freedom and power that he never had as a young boy. But he also has to take down Savannah, played by Mark Strong, an evil bad guy who has the seven deadly sins on his side and who seeks to get Billy's powers for his own. That's all I'll say about the story without spoiling anything. But the story itself is about as silly as you'd expect from a Shazam story if you're familiar with the original comics. And that's one of the things that the film does well. It totally embraces the cheesy kind of story that Shazam is, while also telling a great coming of age story about Billy Batson. You get to see his interactions with his foster family, his attitude changing throughout the film, and you get to really get a sense of the film's message throughout a lot of his scenes. The of messages about family, messages about being in a foster home, and messages, about growing up. All of them are done really, really well here, and the drama mixes in well with the comedy and the superhero action. The action scenes aren't exactly the most inventive, I'd call them, but they do take a good advantage of the film's comedy and Shazam's power set, which, alongside general superhuman strength, speed, and flight, also allows him to use electricity, since he has the power of Zeus after all, which I think is actually a pretty clever use. Other cast members, including including Billy's best friend Freddy, are really well done. He's sort of like the superhero geek character that seems like an audience surrogate, and he works well with that kind of personality. The other foster kids are really fun too, especially the absolutely adorable little sister of the group, Darla. Some of them get more character development than others, but all of them generally give out well done performances, and they even lead to a really unexpected turn in the third act, which I will not spoil for you, but as an avid reader of DC Comics, I was very impressed by. And if this film ever gets a sequel, I think it has a lot of potential for it, if you get what I mean. There are a few flaws with the film, however. One of them is with the villain Savannah. Now, Mark Strong gives out a great performance as Savannah, and he is given a backstory that does make you feel sympathy for him, but in my opinion, he wasn't developed enough, and it feels like he was given the bare minimum for you to either feel sorry for him or understand where he's coming from. He's not bad per se, but I would have wanted a little more out of him, especially considering he basically turns into a pretty irredeemable guy pretty fast. That and the jokes are kind of hit and miss. The ones that are funny are really, really funny, but the ones that are cringeworthy are pretty cringeworthy. But thankfully, the actual funny jokes vastly outnumber the cringy ones. So it's not a problem that comes all the time. And the CGI effects, which while some do look a little bit dated, others look really, really cool, such as Shazam's various powers, the flight scenes, and some of the rescue scenes. So yeah, it also saved for the credits because there's one foreshadowing credit after credit scene and one that's mainly just for laughs, but is generally a very funny scene. This is a film that not only has a love for the DC universe, but a clear respect for the Shazam character. And the two, out of the first two films for Marvel and DC, I have to say somehow DC managed to win this one over Captain Marvel. You could call this the real Captain Marvel movie then. So I'll give Shazam an 8.5 out of 10. See you next time.